Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. This is Susie Church Brown. I am here to talk to you a little bit about healthy eating. I had originally intended this to be an early January recording, help with your possibly your New Year's resolutions to eat a little healthier. But then I got the flu and I could not stop coughing. So now we're recording it now in early February instead. So let's just talk about healthful eating, because that's something that that's a concept that applies to all year round, all your life, for you as a parent, for kids, for all individuals. So it's a really important aspect of living healthfully. Well, first and foremost, I do have a background in nutrition. I studied dietetics at university and have continued to learn and educate myself on different changes and advancements in nutrition. It's really interesting that the more we learn, the more we study, it becomes apparent that we actually know a lot less than we thought. And different vitamins and minerals and nutrients and food concepts sometimes become not accepted truths any longer. So it's nutrition is one of those concepts that is really, really, really hard to be able to nail down. So it's important to know that going in and understand that not there's not a lot of hard and fast rules when it comes to nutrition. I know a lot of people really like to have a strict definition of what they should and shouldn't eat, and what good foods are and what bad foods are. And I think what we're learning more and more is that there are general guidelines that are best to be followed most of the time. And these guidelines are like suggestions that work best when they are followed regularly, but they're not hard and fast. And I want to start off by saying that very important thing. These suggestions, these concepts that I'm talking about, are not hard and fast rules. There is no such thing as falling off the wagon when it comes to good nutrition. Sometimes you have a day where all you eat are snack foods or ultra processed foods, and we'll talk about ultra processed foods in a little bit. But and that's just the way that day goes. So the next day, try and eat a few more fruits and vegetables. And like in general, that's a much better plan than trying to beat yourself up over having a really less than ideal nutrition day. I've said this, but just to repeat, the science of nutrition is actually really quite new. What we know about how to feed ourselves through each life stage is really quite small. The more we learn, the more we realize we don't actually know. And what we are learning is not set in stone. So like what works really well for me wouldn't necessarily work for another person. So it's really important to take all of these suggestions and understand your genetic makeup, your predispositions, your physical fitness, your physical activity level, even your gender, and understand that all of these things interplay in order to make up what is best for you. So nutrition is complicated, and it's important to start out knowing that. So let me talk about one of my favorite phrases, one of my favorite quotes, and that is from Michael Pollan. And he says, eat food, not too much, and mostly plants. And so what I love about this quote is basically emphasizing that you should eat food. And while that is actually a very simple sentence, what we mean by food is, I'm referring to things that are non-ultra processed. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if you really want to be literal, pretty much all food that you eat is processed foods. Even yogurt and honey technically are processed foods. But when I'm talking about eating food, I'm talking about trying to eat as much of your diet that resembles how it looked when it was out in Mother Nature, as it is possible. Humans really like to muck around with food, and we try to make it shelf stable, and we try to make it funny colors, and we like to create weird monster molecules. And we like to, the more we manipulate foods, the more we are minimizing their nutritional value. So as much as you can, trying to avoid ultra processed foods is much better for your health. So some other foods that maybe should play a minimal role in your diet might include things like hot dogs, salamis, these sorts of really processed meats. A lot of the snack foods, a lot of the foods that are ultra processed, if you look closely at the nutrition label, these foods have items included in their ingredient list that you probably can't pronounce because they are either chemicals or manufactured ingredients. So a really good hint to tell if a food is more minimally processed is to look at the ingredient list, and if it's shorter, it's probably better. I mean, that's a very vague rule of thumb, but it generally is pretty accurate. Also, if you can't pronounce it, it's probably man-made. So in general, Mother Nature, you can pronounce most of the things that she has created for us. So the second part of that quote, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. The second part is not too much. So generally speaking, human beings really like fatty and sugary foods. Our brains are wired to really enjoy the texture of fatty foods and to appreciate sweet foods. So oftentimes when we are snacking, we forget how much food we've actually eaten, how much of that snack food. It's really helpful to your body to take a portion out onto a plate. I'm not saying don't enjoy that snack food. Certainly, maybe Cheetos are your jam. Put a handful of Cheetos into a bowl and enjoy every single one of them. But don't just eat out of the bag, because then you don't know exactly how much you've eaten. Oftentimes we like to eat in a rush, or we eat standing, and we don't cue into the clues that our body is giving that we have reached our satiety level. I know I grew up with a parent, a mother who insisted absolutely that that plate needs to be clean. You don't actually know when you're putting the food onto your plate exactly what your satiety level will be. You have a guess as how much you might want, but you don't know for sure. So maybe you're actually full before your plate is clean. Maybe you've finished all of the food on your plate and you still want a little more. So it's really important to be able to just consume your food a little bit slower and really tune into the cues that your body is giving you. Your body will know when it's had the amount of nutrition that it needs. You just need to be able to clue into and listen to the cues that your body is giving you. It's also really important to know the difference between the signals that your body might give you where it's thirsty, and when it's giving you the signal that it's hungry. So oftentimes we get those signals mixed up, and we will snack because our body has given us a signal, not realizing that that signal is actually thirst and not hunger. The other thing that we do to ourselves without really cluing into the signals that our body gives us is we eat because of what the clock says. The clock has dictated to us it's noon, so therefore we're hungry. It's lunchtime. But are you really hungry? It's a cue given to us in a mental acknowledgement of that cue. And then we think, just like that Pavlovian dog, we think, okay, it's noon, so I'm hungry. But it's important to really understand, are you actually hungry? Or is it just noon? The final time when we eat kind of mindlessly is when we are in a social situation. And almost all of our social situations circle around some sort of like consumption of food. Food and social situations often allows us the opportunity to just mindfully graze on whatever snack it is that our host has provided for us. So maybe a better plan might be to get yourself a glass of maybe ice water or sparkling water and sip on that, and then listen to the cues that your body is giving you. And once it says, yeah, I'm really quite hungry, then you get yourself a small plate of a snack. One final situation gives us cues that we can oftentimes misinterpret as hunger, and that is when we are stressed. There are a typical response to a stressful situation is to start stress eating. And this is a way to kind of soothe that angst that stress is building within us. And so this can oftentimes lead to consuming mindlessly just to try and get that feel-good feeling, when actually the snacking isn't going to help us feel good. Dealing with the situation is going to help us feel good. So the last part of that quote, eat food, not too much, and mostly plants, refers to eating plants. So naturally, human beings are omnivores, which means that we have both ripping and cutting teeth. So we can rip foods like meats, and then we can grind foods like grains. But still, when we eat a diet of mostly plants, so that includes these superfoods like legumes and beans and fruits and veggies, our bodies are the most happy and they function really well. This is because in all of those foods, in legumes and fruits and veggies, in grains, there are a lot of what are called phytonutrients. And these are different vitamins and minerals that help to really promote good health in your body. They have a lot of beneficial effects on your different systems in your body. They provide fiber, both soluble and insoluble, so they make your digestive system really happy. There are a lot of vitamins and minerals that make your skin happy and make your muscles happy, and really help you to get all of the vitamins and minerals that will really keep your body functioning well. When one eats too much meat, especially processed meats like ham and bacon and lunch meats, this is really hard for our body to process and then utilize. So I'm not saying you have to be a vegetarian in order to be healthy. Definitely quality meats are good for you, but I do feel like it is important for us to not give the main portion of our plate to meat. It is a much better idea to take your plate and fill the majority of it with fruits and veggies, and then have a small portion of high quality meat. So then it tastes much better. You're getting a high quality protein, and then you need less of it to really enjoy that satiety. So talked a bit about my favorite quote. I'd really like to talk a little bit about color and variety. So we've been talking about fruits and veggies. When you go to the grocer or to the market and you see the different array of fruits and vegetables that are available, it's all an amazing spread of color. You have oranges and yellows and reds and greens. All of those different colors kind of correspond with different nutrients, all of which your body would do well with. So this is where it's really important to remember color, 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 and variety, variety, variety. If you eat the same 3 vegetables, say every day you eat a carrot, some broccoli, and then you eat a salad. So these are your 3 things that you're eating, but you don't change up the vegetables that you're enjoying. Your body really appreciates and does best when you eat all of the colors and you have a huge variety of these fruits and veggies in your diet. When you eat the same thing over and over again, you're certainly providing your body with vitamins and minerals, but you're not providing it with all of the vitamins and minerals. So it's really important to have a wide variety of colors and fruits and veggies in your diet. So that old adage, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, it's not quite right. It's much more accurate to say several apples a day keep the doctor away, because one serving of fruit is not enough. You should have up to 4 or 5 servings of fruit. And so it's really important to make sure that you are getting plenty of fruits and veggies and a wide variety as well. So we've talked a little bit about some of the superfoods, which are fruits and veggies. And we've talked just a little bit about ultra processed foods. I'd like to talk a little bit about 2 other not so superfoods. One of them is sugar. And the thing about sugar is that it's found in pretty much all sorts of foods. Even fruits and vegetables have a lot of sugars in them. So it's almost impossible to avoid completely, but it isn't completely impossible. When you figure out what it is sugar is called, because there are many, many different names for sugar, you can more adequately reduce or remove these sugars from your diet. Sugars are unfortunately not necessarily, they don't cause hyperactivity, and they don't cause any sort of, if you have diabetes, certainly then there might be some sort of blood and a blood response to the sugar when you eat it. But most specifically, of course, it does cause dental caries. So especially if you don't brush your teeth after consuming it, the sugar will start to degenerate and cause problems in your teeth. But more importantly, and the reason to avoid sugar is that it is basically devoid of any nutrients. It's a very concentrated source of calories, and it is often seen in the greatest concentrations in foods that are the most highly processed. So the other thing to think about when you think about sugar is that it's extremely addictive. Human beings really, really like the taste of sugar and sweet things, and they will go to great lengths to seek it out. Sugar is also typically found in diets that include a lot of like sodas and candies and sweets. And these are not the foods that we should be eating large quantities of. But if you do eat a lot of sodas and sugars and sweets, it's sort of like a siren song, right? Then you start wanting those foods instead. And then those foods take the place of the more nutritious and nutrient dense foods that you really should have more of in your diet. So kind of to follow along with that, as I was saying, sugar is basically devoid of nutrients. We used to use the expression empty calories, and that's basically what it is. And it's important to know that a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. But there are some foods that have a much greater calorie load in relation to their nutrient density. So, like, for example, a fat molecule has a fairly high calorie load, but a fat molecule doesn't necessarily have a great nutritional density. It's not to say that fat is all bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. Your body needs fat in your diet in order to function well. However, you also want to make sure that you're paying attention to and incorporating foods that have the biggest nutritional bang for your buck. So fruits and veggies, whole grains and legumes, and quality sources of protein. So these are where you have wise investment, both calorically, so calorie-wise, and also financially. But a calorie is still a calorie is still a calorie. So if you eat too much of calories, and even if they're all made up of fruits and veggies and whole grains, you're still going to lay on the extra weight. So it's important to remember that as well. What they are finding more and more and more is that what you eat is potentially more important when it comes to your weight and keeping a healthful weight than exercise. So it's really important to make sure that the diet is meeting your needs, giving you all of the nutrition that you need, but it's not overly caloric and laying on extra calories, which will in your body be stored as extra weight and fat. So, couple things. So one more point on a food that is not so superfood. More and more studies are showing that alcohol is not necessarily a good choice for people when they are trying to eat healthfully. They used to think that a few moderate drinking might be moderately healthy, or at least not dangerous. But now they're starting to see that even moderate drinking, which is defined as 1 drink or less per day for women and 2 drinks or less per day for men, can increase your risk for developing certain types of cancer and cardiovascular disease. So more and more, they're starting to suggest that it is better to maybe you have a non-alcoholic cocktail or a seltzer a couple nights a week instead of one of your favorite cocktails. So it's important to ask your doctor and your dietitian or nutritionist about your alcohol consumption if it's something that you're considering. So a couple of suggestions to set yourself up for success. First of all, in order to make good food choices, especially if you're rushed or maybe if you're in the habit of snacking, is to have a lot of fruits and veggies on hand. Maybe even you have them cut up in airtight containers in your fridge. This helps you to have the option easily to select a better bang for your buck nutritionally snack, like maybe carrots or an apple versus chips or a soft drink, because it's easily and readily available. In fact, I would go so far as to suggest that you just don't even buy the snack foods or the ultra processed foods. If you don't have it in your house, if you don't have easy access to it, you're probably going to opt for what is readily available. And if you've made fruits and veggies readily available, that's what you can select. The other thing that is super helpful is to cook at home. And I know not everybody has time for that, and not everyone has skills for that. But making big batches of healthy soups, like maybe bean soups, or you make a big kale salad, or finding different larger batch recipes that you eat for multiple days is a really helpful way to be able to choose better foods to enjoy. You can even use good for you convenience foods that will help. Keeping these on hand will help you to be able to more quickly make foods at home. So for example, frozen fruits and veggies, or canned tomatoes, canned beans, canned tuna. Having these on hand will help you to be able to cook, when you get home late at night and you really don't want to be able to, you just want to sit and do nothing. You don't want to spend now time cooking. If you have these on hand, you can quickly throw together a recipe that you will all enjoy. And then that way, what's in your food, and you're not just eating whatever the restaurant has put into your food. So on that, I'd like to put a plug in for my Healthy Expat recipe. I'll link it in the show notes. That's where I post recipes where you can, these are all things that we eat regularly in our household, and many of them are very quick and easy to make. And I always try to use easy to have on hand ingredients, so you're not searching around for some bizarre Asian sauce that maybe you could only find in 1 or 2 markets in your town. So hopefully you have the chance to check out that website for some good for you recipes. So I hope that going through these suggestions and discussion about healthy eating will inspire you to eat healthfully this year. Know that your diet is not a bad word. Your diet is actually the food that you consume in order to give yourself energy throughout the day. It's not the D word, the bad word. Understanding that it's all of the foods that you can eat rather than the foods that you cannot eat helps you to have a more positive view of nutrition and your diet. I know what I eat every day gives me a lot of energy, and it meets my needs, and it includes all of the nutrients I enjoy. But nutrition is very individual. So what works really well for me won't necessarily work well for my growing teenage boys, or for my husband, who has a very different health history than I do. So it's really important to ensure that your nutrition and your diet works for you. And make changes as you need to. If you don't fully understand what you're eating that is maybe not giving you enough energy, or you just have questions about what to eat, what choices to make, because it can feel a little overwhelming when you go to the grocery store, it's a great idea to have a couple sessions with a nutritionist or a dietitian and help talk through these questions with them. It's not like you have to see them every week for the rest of your days. Just having a couple sessions with them can be really informative and help you to really develop your nutrition understanding. I hope that you appreciate the foods that you're going to be eating, and I hope that just this little discussion will help you understand that nutrition is not nearly as complicated as you might think. It's the superfoods that you need more of. It's the ultra processed that you need less of, and hopefully you find a way to combine all of the fruits and veggies and ingredients to enjoy a diet that gives you all sorts of energy, and that you stick with it and keep learning about what it is that makes you and your family healthy. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to sharing another podcast with you again soon.